Hello, everybody. Andrew Feel here. Excuse me. So this is probably the hardest part of this segment. By the way, I think the shorter videos are better. Of course, I don't want it to be like 2 minutes because I don't think that's good enough news content. But I want to keep it under 20 minutes this video, even though I've got a lot of content to cover. The biggest thing that happened was the U.S. milestone of 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus happened, I think, yesterday. It's hard because, you know, it's just so many people, fellow Americans, that have lost their lives in the matter of months. The first death was in February, and it was only like 3 months ago. We lost 100,000 people. Just to put that in perspective, it's like if the cities South Bend, Indiana, or Albany, New York disappeared because that's how many people died. It is equal to half of the McDonald's employees, or two sold-out Yankee stadiums. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be emotional. It's really hard to grasp um, all those people that are lost. I'm happy that I saw CNN's doing a segment remembering all the people that have been lost, so I really appreciate that. It's been really hard because we don't even know how many deaths will happen in the U.S. It's going to be hard this summer, so be prepared for that. Um, let's see. Trump finally talked about those that were lost at the 100,000 milestone. It really shows he doesn't have any empathy. Probably just did it because his advisors told him he should, because it's a landmark, being 100,000. Even though the U.S. has less than 5% of the world's population, the U.S. has nearly one-third of the coronavirus deaths, which is insane. 5% and 33% are nowhere near each other. A lot of this is Trump's fault because he handled it so bad and underplayed it, and he still does. You still don't see him wear a mask. Parades people that wear masks. He's the worst American president, in my opinion, the worst American president we've ever had. And I really hope that Joe Biden gets in November. And I know he's not he wouldn't be the perfect president, but number one, I think like 99% of the people would be a better president than Trump. So, it's a very low bar, but I think that Joe Biden would do a good job. Not a perfect job, but a good job. I think he'd lead the country out of this coronavirus. Um, the coronavirus is found to attack the placenta during pregnancy. The World Health Organization temporarily halted tests of hydroxychloroquine, which is a drug that he touted, which caused more Americans to die. Due to safety concerns, cases are trending upward in 18 states. Cities all over America celebrated with pool parties and packed crowds. And, those are the people that deserve to get it. But in doing so, they're going to pass it to people who are actually trying to be safe about this. Dr. Burke said wearing a face mask is critical to reducing the spread of the coronavirus, and they say it's better to socialize outdoors because it's a lot easier to get infected if you're indoors. So if you are going to socialize, please don't gather in big numbers, and try to keep it to a minimum, and try to be outside. Trump went golfing as the U.S. neared the 100,000 mark. The White House is pushing for Brazil travel ban because Brazil has been really hard hit by this very recently, actually, within the past month or two. And the biggest similarity with Brazil and America is we both have leaders who are very stupid, don't listen to the experts, and downplayed the virus. So the Brazilian president also downplayed the coronavirus. He does not wear a mask. A mayor called the Brazilian president stupid and slammed his response. And he also went in. The Brazilian president also went to a crowd without a mask. So I'd say he's a little worse than Trump, but they're both pretty pathetic. And I'd say Trump is about equally as pathetic because the U.S. is supposed to be a world leader in this stuff, and he's acting like a freaking like he has no idea what he's doing, and he doesn't, I guess. Um, Vegas casinos open next week. Some Florida parks aim for July. A study found that the WHO recommendation of 6 feet may not be enough, at least in indoor spaces. Child hunger in the U.S. is soaring. Brazil's president greeted, yeah, I said that, sorry. And that equals bad leadership equals bad coronavirus response. Italy seeks 60,000 volunteers to enforce social distancing rules after they got complaints of people like going out. Even if schools reopen this fall, a poll found 1 in 5 teachers say they're unlikely to return. Trump's team blocked rules in 2017 that would have forced the healthcare industry to plan for diseases like COVID-19. So they were actually dooming themselves before the coronavirus even hit. That's how bad his administration is. California Governor Newsom says hair salons and barbershops can reopen, which is stage 3 of California's reopening plan. And I think it's kind of early because even though I know that the economic fallout seems to be big in California, at least potentially, I think that they're going too fast, already being on stage 3 with hair salons and barbershops, because I'm pretty sure that the cases are increasing still in that state, and I feel like they're just moving too quickly with this. So Twitter did something actually really amazing. After three and a half years of Trump, using Twitter as his platform to spread his misinformation and lies. And I think I saw that the Washington Post said that since day one in office, Trump has lied 3,300 times, which is just crazy, and it's been on Twitter. So they fact checked him one time. The Wall Street Journal said 3,300 lies in 3 years on Twitter, and they fact checked him one time. And Trump's trying to remove Twitter, basically, or control Twitter. This is a man we're dealing with. They fact-checked a claim by Trump that mail-in voting would cause a rigged election. There's no evidence that it would cause any fraud, and Trump said that Twitter was interfering in the 2020 election by giving people facts. Alright, so I was on Twitter that day. It was a couple days ago, so it wasn't that long ago. But so it wasn't like just, a Twitter executive was like, you know what, Trump's an idiot, even though that would be kind of funny if it happened, but it didn't. A Twitter executive was like, yeah, I'm saying it's not like a Twitter executive just was like, I hate Trump, let's just, dispute what he's saying. This was because on the trending page, number 1 on trending was take Trump off Twitter. And the reason they're not going to take Trump off Twitter, they didn't now, and they're not going to in the future, because he's just bringing too much attention to their platform. By getting rid of him, they, probably lose some money and lose a lot of attention, and people would go to, bad social media networks like Facebook. Yeah, I call Facebook bad because Mark Zuckerberg did a horrible job and allowed misinformation to spread on Facebook in 2016. And after everything else, he said that Jack Dorsey and Twitter was wrong to fact check the president. Not remove the president, just fact check something that he said, and below his tweet put in articles that show that there's no signs of fraud in mail-in voting. Mark Zuckerberg, excuse my language, YouTube, but he is a pussy. Mark Zuckerberg is a pussy. And I congratulate Jack Dorsey for, allowing facts to go through. because I'm pretty sure that Facebook was a part of a campaign by the social media platforms to, make sure that misinformation wasn't around. So Mark Zuckerberg saying that Trump can say whatever he wants kind of disputes Facebook's message. So bad CEO, bad company, you know what I mean? Anyways, so yeah, the number one thing on trending was take Trump off of Twitter, and they weren't going to do that. So all they did was fact check something that was very important. Like out of all his tweets, I get why they did this one because the 2020 election is so important, and mail-in voting, is a very important thing because if the coronavirus is still around, a lot of people are not going to want to vote in November. Like I don't know if I would or not, but it'd be hard for me to go to a ballot and because I wouldn't want to risk my family's safety, especially if a new wave comes in November, let's say, and a lot more people are getting sick and dying from this. So mail-in voting shows there's no evidence of fraud from mail-in voting. It's legal, and Trump said before that he's scared of more people voting. So what do you think this is? This is trying to stop more people from voting in the election because his polls are sagging. He's lost. He has lost this election. And the only way he has a chance in the 2020 election is if he can stop people from voting. And mail-in voting, if he was able to stop that, then that would be really dangerous because a lot of people would be stopped from voting, and then maybe he'd have the votes to win. So it's very important that we have mail-in voting just for the fact that a good amount of people will be able to vote in November, no matter how dangerous the coronavirus is at that point, which we have no idea because that's 6 months from now. Yeah, it's really disgusting how Trump and the Republicans are. The GOP is just a disgrace, and I just really hope that we can keep mail-in voting because it's not just, it may secure a Democratic victory, but that's just because more people will vote, and that means it'll probably be more to the Democrat side because not a lot of people are liking how Trump's doing things right now. And the GOP has only him, so sucks for you. So I also found that he said in his tweet that he would regulate or close down social media platforms. That's what he threatened in one of his tweets. And he soon after signed an executive order aimed at increasing the government's ability to regulate social media. So I have a question for the American people, even the Fox News viewers. Do you want a dictatorship in America? That's a yes or no question. If you say yes, then you're probably not that informed and you don't like being an American. Because the main thing that America stands on and why people want to come to this country is that we guarantee freedoms. We guarantee freedoms of the press, freedom of speech, freedom to attend, and protest, and we have a bunch of freedoms and all these amendments and all of this. So if they slowly get taken away, then what is our country worth anymore? We're no better than China, no better than Russia, no better than Iran, North Korea. I mean, the social media is pretty key to our democracy. You look at China, they have a state-run media. You look at Russia, they have a state-run media. You look at North Korea, state-run media. You look at Iran, state-run media. You don't have independent news in those totalitarian countries. In America, you have freedom of the press. And the same goes for social media because, that's freedom of the press also with just on social media platforms. So if you censor or take down social media platforms that have information you don't like, you know better than China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea. So I really hope that he doesn't have that power. I hope it gets shut down by Congress, his executive order. Social media should not be threatened by a president because he doesn't like what they have to say. It shouldn't get to this point. It's disgusting. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act gives social media companies authority to moderate speech. California's Governor Newsom talked of expanding mail-in voting in California. A federal appeals court backed Newsom's stay-at-home order banning church services because of the coronavirus. Rejects the argument of treading on First Amendment rights because of the situation. Look, I'd want to go to church as well, and no matter your religion, um, I know it's important to go to mass on Sunday, but it's just a sacrifice that we have to make as Americans. We have to make that sacrifice. It doesn't mean you can't pray or, practice your religion, but we have to make the sacrifice of not going to a religious service in person to try and help this and have less people die in our country. To these people that are trying to push the reopening so much, how much more deaths do you want to see? Is 100,000 people not enough for you? What is it going to take? 1 million? A million Americans to die for you to actually care? That's why I feel that the economics in our country is broken, because people are seeing that as more important than public health. I just don't understand how the system, it just feels broken to me, where you have a system where people are willing to sacrifice their own lives and the lives of everyone else in their community just so they can make money. It doesn't feel right. In times of situations like this, with the public health crisis, a world health crisis, feels like economics should be given by the government. People should stay home, have money given to them. It's not people being lazy, it's just people being safe. The government should just be providing money to the people who need it most, and people shouldn't be forced to work when the coronavirus killed 100,000 people in 3 months. It's ridiculous. There were a lot of talks about a second peak in cases of coronavirus, and the WHO warns against scaling restrictions and warns of a second peak because states are scaling restrictions, or places in general are scaling restrictions too early, and with people not following the restrictions. France, Italy, Belgium all stopped the use of hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19 on safety concerns as well. New York Governor Cuomo signed an order that allows New York stores to ban customers for not wearing masks. This is huge because I saw a store in Texas is actually banning people from wearing masks. I mean, that's just, how is that possible? But I think that's, Cuomo's a great person and politician, and this makes a lot of sense and should be implemented everywhere, where, if everyone else is wearing masks and someone else isn't, like, especially in stores, stores more than any other place, because that's like the biggest, um, possible rate of infection, because that's where everyone needs to go. That's the place you need to go to most, more than gas, more than I don't know, hardware store, more than anything else. You need to get food. So groceries are the biggest potential hotspots. So everyone should be forced to wear a mask. And if you don't have a mask, you have to make your own. You wear a scarf, do whatever you need to do. Wear a bandana, I mean anything. 2.1 million Americans filed for unemployment this week, which means 40.8 million are filed for unemployment in 10 weeks, which is insane. 1 in 4 American workers are now unemployed. The CDC fears a possible second peak as new cases rise in 16 states still. The 18 was from a couple days ago. There's still a new rise in cases in 16 states. And the second wave, which they planned, not planned, but they said would probably be in the fall, is now seeming to be in the summer, which is not a good sign. Coronavirus test sites are disproportionately located in whiter neighborhoods in 4 of the largest cities in Texas. Come on, Texas again. Some U.S. statistics from the first 69,000 fatalities, about twice as many men died versus females. Males died versus females for some reason. I'm not sure why. 80% of the fatalities were from people at least 65 years old. African Americans and Native Americans have died at higher rates. Mike Pence's chief of staff owns stocks in 23 companies doing work related in the White House pandemic response, so they should probably keep an eye on him. Social media seems to be trying to fight misinformation about the coronavirus. I saw Facebook says it is, but it doesn't really look like it. The main people are Twitter. Um, Amazon was doing some stuff. Um, I didn't write it down, so I don't remember. But there was a couple couple social media platforms that were doing a good job at fighting misinformation. Let's see. Beijing warned America is pushing relations to a new Cold War, if that's how it's going to be. Senator Scott said we're in a new Cold War with China. China threatens the U.S. amid new tensions over Hong Kong. The Wuhan lab's director denied rumors that the coronavirus originated there. What took so long? Wuhan seems to test millions as doctors warn the U.S. is not prepared. Yeah, okay, so I just want to say with China, before I move on, I think that, even though it seems like the right thing to do to work with China, U.S. and China, it feels like it seems nearly impossible. Like, even if you want to work with them on some issues and then, address other issues that they're doing that you feel is wrong, like, first of all, they just seem to be doing a lot wrong, and they just don't seem trustworthy at all. I mean, the statistics right now show that more people have died in Canada than China. That is impossible. That is literally impossible. China seemed to be the first country to get the coronavirus back in November, about 6 months ago. They shut down most of China, so they say, and they say cases just disappeared. That's probably not true, and even if that is true, there's no way that only 80,000 people got infected and only I forget what they say, only 4,000 died. You're telling me in the United States with, let's see, 350 million people, 100,000 died. But China, a population of 1.6 billion people, or 1.5 billion people, 4,000 died. Impossible. Especially since they were the originating country, so the Chinese, the government may have known, but the Chinese public didn't even know what this was, this new disease. They may have thought it was like the flu or something, and it would have spread by like wildfire. So it's impossible that only 4,000 people died in China from it. So you cannot trust China, so I do not think the U.S. should pursue relations with China in any way. If it's a new Cold War, so be it. This coronavirus is China's fault. Now, I'm saying it's Trump's fault because he did a horrible response. We had a lot of time when it was just in China, and he didn't think it'd come to the U.S., and he downplayed it, and this is why we're in such a bad situation here in America. And that's why we have the most cases and the most deaths by far. But China did a horrible job with the coronavirus, and they're lying to the world about the origins of the coronavirus and the statistics. So China is a horrible country. The Chinese government's horrible. And you can't trust China. Not for a long time. At least a couple years, I'd say. Sorry, this video is going to be really long, and I can't believe there's so much news in 5 days, but here we are. So, a fire occurred in a hospital in Moscow. One person died. The rest were moved to different hospitals, and the fire was put out. The NBA may go to Disney in Florida for continuing playing in late July. Exciting news with the NHL. The NHL Players Union approved a playoff format that allows 24 teams to go to the postseason. ESPN confirmed that the regular season is over. 24 playoff teams are moving to the playoffs. The Blackhawks, my team, would play the Oilers in a 5-game series, and I think that would be really good. I really wish we still had Leonard, and I think the Blackhawks GM was really stupid for trading him away. But I think we still have a chance of beating the Oilers. So, the worst thing that could happen to the Blackhawks, in my opinion, is either them getting swept and losing 3 games in a row, or somehow playing Vegas and losing because of Leonard. That would be a really hard pill for me to swallow. So I hope it doesn't come to that. But, yeah. Universal Orlando unveiled a plan to reopen on June 5th. In 1918, Major League Baseball and college football played on amid a deadly pandemic in World War II. Texas Governor Greg Abbott will soon allow outdoor pro sports events to have spectators at 25% capacity. So it seems like a pretty good plan. There was a TV drama on forbidden love between a North Korean soldier and South Korean. The director spoke to directors to get a feel for how North Korea is. The series is on Netflix called Crash Landing on You. It shows maybe that Koreans are more unified than divided. And here we go. The FBI is investigating the death of a man who pleads for help while being pinned down during an arrest in Minneapolis. The man's name was George Floyd. Okay. This one's hard to talk about because the video was online. This man who is being arrested said, "I can't breathe, officer." And they pinned him down for 10 minutes on the street. They put the officer put his knee to George Floyd's neck and could not let him breathe. And instead of arresting him, they basically choked him out and he died in a hospital later on. The other deaths by police brutality were bad. A lot of them were, of course, the police's fault, and showed that. And the policemen usually did not get prosecuted or treated fairly under the law. But this one I think is the worst one, because rather than being shot, they literally sat on his neck for 10 minutes, where he eventually died in a brutal death. You think there's enough going wrong in this country and the world, and you just see this, and man, the world just seems to be getting worse every day. These are truly sad times for America and the world. This should not be a reality in 2020. America fought a war to be able to get over slavery, and then had a movement, the Civil Rights Movement, to try to get African Americans to have equal status as everyone else. But how is it possible that in 2020, a black man is choked to death by a police officer? I can't answer that question. People need to know that Black lives matter. Everybody should be treated equally in this country, because that was why we were founded. We are founded for men and women to be treated equally, no matter their race, their religion, their sex, any factor. Race should not determine your status in this country. This is wrong. I saw a part of the video. I could not watch the whole video. But I saw a part of the video, and seeing that they had him in handcuffs, instead of putting him in a police car and driving to the police station, for them to just sit him on the street, put his knee to his neck for 10 minutes, and he's screaming, "I can't breathe." Bystanders are telling the police to get off him. It's terrible. It's a terrible tragedy. It should never happen in this country or anywhere in the world, especially not in America. I can't believe it happened. I saw the video, and I say, here we go again. This country's going through too much. There's too much going on in this country. It's going to take a long time for this country to heal. Like, things are not bad enough right now. It's just always something that happens to make the situation worse. And I feel for his family. I can't imagine trying to figure out what happened to my son or my brother or, their son or their brother, and just seeing a video posted online and seeing how he died. I can't imagine what they're going through. It's terrible. Anyway, George Floyd's sister said that they should be charged for murder, and they should. The 4 officers involved have been fired, but they should be charged for murder and prosecuted for murder and serve life sentences in jail. The George Floyd protests turned deadly in Minneapolis. Minneapolis mayor requests the National Guard. There was a shooting, looting, fire, and police tear gas. The police officer that was at the center of George Floyd's death had over a dozen police conduct complaints, and he was on the force since 2001. Now, I wish someone could tell me why a police officer that had over a dozen police conduct complaints could still be a police officer. How is that possible? A dozen police conduct complaints. One police conduct complaint is bad. Over 12 police conduct complaints. And the Minneapolis Police Department didn't find anything wrong with that. What a shame. SpaceX and NASA were set to launch the first Americans into space since 2011. SpaceX called off the launch because of bad weather. The launch will be tried again on Saturday. The Justice Department is closing its investigations into the 3 senators' stock sales. Peter Manfredonia, the UConn student wanted in connection with the murder of 2 men, has been arrested in Maryland. Boeing laid off nearly 7,000 employees. Philippines president said no school until the coronavirus vaccine. Amy Cooper, a white woman who called the cops to lie that a black man was threatening her life in Central Park, was fired from her job at Franklin Templeton. That was good, at least. I saw that video too. And this man was just filming in Central Park, and this lady seemed to be like abusing her dog, like choking the dog, like carrying the dog around. This lady seemed pretty crazy. And this man's just sitting in Central Park filming her. And she says she's going to call the police, saying that this man threatened her life. So, Amy Cooper, you're a horrible human being. I'm sure Trump loves you. And I'm glad that you don't have a job. I'm sorry to the 40 million people that don't have a job, but you're one who deserved it. So, good for you. Joe Biden made his first public appearance in 2 months wearing a mask. He came with his wife to lay a wreath to honor the Delaware veterans who passed. Trump also commemorated the war dead. Sorry that this video ended up being so long. Just got pretty emotional. It's pretty tragic things that happened in the past couple of days. Yeah, if you guys liked this video, please like and subscribe. And have a good rest of your day. Bye.